That sounds like a great guy to me, Mike. Right? That sounds like a guy that I could hang with.
Yeah.
Tony Blair.
No, thank you. Give me a break. I endured him.
Yes.
I endured him for 5 bloody years in the UK.
Punched him, Mike, right in the handshake line.
I know. I saw it.
He wasn't happy.
It was one of those I can't believe what I'm watching moments.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Stick and Hack Show, a sophisticated and brilliant look into the world of golf from a stick and a hack. Now, your hosts, Mike Ryan and Adam Grubb.
All right, everybody, welcome in. This is the Stick and Hack Show. I'm your host, Adam Grubb. That's Mike Ryan, the stick right there. Mike, good afternoon. Hello, how are you?
I'm super, man. I am super excited for our guest today.
Yeah, the guest is huge. One might say, and he's been called one of the nicest men in golf, but he has had a storied career in golf, and we're going to get to that in a second. We are quite possibly the greatest golf show in the free world from the greatest golf club in the world without the course. That's Stick and Hack. And our guest today is Tony Jacklin, golfer, major champion winner, Ryder Cup captain, author, and one half of the duo responsible for the most recognized act of sportsmanship in all of sports. And now he's a guest on the Stick and Hack Show. Tony Jacklin is on the program in just a few minutes, Mike. And it's going to be an honor to talk to him, and the names. He has a new book out, My Ryder Cup Journey. And we read it over the weekend. Got an advanced copy. That's how important we are, Mike. And I read through it. The names in that book, the stories that he has, the people that he was around and that shaped his career and his life. I mean, it's a who's who in golf, and we'll get to it in just a little bit. First, though, Mike, since Tony and Jack are part of the Concession, the 1969 Ryder Cup, the incredible story there, we figured the best way to do first up and start the show is with bad sports. So these are stories of bad sportsmanship. Okay, now there's a Netflix series on right now called Bad Sports, and it's incredibly engaging, and I would do yourself a favor and watch it. They're not a sponsor of this program, but nonetheless, still do yourself a favor and check it out. All right, so bad sports. It takes a special kind of bad sportsmanship act to get a rule named after you overnight. That was the case for the New York Rangers player Sean Avery. On April 13, 2008, the Rangers faced the New Jersey Devils in a first-round playoff game for the Stanley Cup. Avery spent a good amount of time waving his hands and stick in front of the goaltender. His over-the-top efforts, now imagine that, his over-the-top efforts were meant to block the goalie's vision and put him off his game. The unsportsmanlike tactics not only led to a goal, but they also helped the Rangers win. In the immediate aftermath, there were numerous attacks on Sean Avery's conduct. The outcry caused the NHL to issue a new rule dubbed the Avery Rule. Hockey players were no longer allowed to stand directly in front of the goalie and wave his or her stick in the opposing goalie's face. Now, you would have thought that would have been a rule long before 2008, but I guess Sean Avery thought otherwise. Another example of bad sports, Mike, long before Deflategate, your favorite team, the New England Patriots, and your favorite quarterback, Tom Brady, were at the center of a perhaps worse controversy. That's Spygate. The Spygate fiasco saw the Patriots accused of videotaping teams 40 times. They were even accused of stealing play sheets. All of this would have helped the Patriots have a supreme advantage over opponents, obviously. It also threw into question many of the team's much lauded achievements before the controversy went public. That was Spygate. And most recently, University of Michigan men's basketball coach Juwan Howard was suspended and fined for throwing a punch at the end of a loss against the Wisconsin Badgers late in the season. Howard and Wisconsin coach Greg Gard argued in the handshake line, and Howard hit Wisconsin assistant Joe Cabenhoft, setting off a confrontation between the two teams. He punched him, Mike, right in the handshake line.
I know. I saw it.
He wasn't happy.
It was one of those I can't believe what I'm watching moments.
He punched him at the end of a game. We bring in a good sport now to the Stick and Hack Show after hearing all of that nastiness. Mr. Tony Jacklin on the program. Tony, welcome in. How are you, sir?
I'm good, Adam. Thank you for having me.
Well, we appreciate your time. You said, Tony, if you can't look your opponent in the eye at the end of 18 holes and shake his hand, whether you've won, lost, or drawn, then we are all wasting our time. Now, Juwan Howard doesn't agree with that statement, obviously. What's your reaction to hearing a story like that in sports?
Well, people operate different under pressure, especially, and if that's what they think's going to get them where they need to be, that's up to them. Golf, I think, by and large, has enjoyed a good reputation from a sportsmanship standpoint over the years. There are many. Obviously, it was highlighted. Jack and I were highlighting that, but there's been many, many instances when good sportsmanship. Payne Stewart, when the gallery had won another Ryder Cup, were giving Monty a hard time, and Payne said, "Pick it up." He wasn't having any of it, and nor would he ever. God rest him. He was a great guy and a great sport. But there's many other examples. So Jack and I's were back in '69 was obviously a pivotal moment in our sport, and certainly from a British-Irish point of view at that time. Europe wasn't involved in the Ryder Cup, but it was a watershed year. So it was, it was a grand gesture, and he's always been a great sport anyway, Jack. So I've always seen the big picture, and that's that.
Tony, take us back to 1969 in that moment when, Jack did something that I've never done and I will never do to Adam, and he conceded a putt when it mattered the most. Were you surprised when you were in that moment? Was it surprising to you?
I was surprised. I was relieved. I was shocked. I was, a lot of emotion over basically a split second in time. But it was. I think since then, and it's a long time ago now, more than 50 years. People have come into realizing that team sport in golf team, and we've, the Ryder Cup, we've got the President's Cup now, in large part because the Ryder Cup was the great success it became, and also from the gals' point of view, the Solheim. And everybody realizes that have played in those teams that there's far much pressure on you playing in a team environment, as far as golf's concerned, than there is playing for yourself. And obviously, historically, golf was a solitary pursuit, but there's far more pressure involved when you're putting for your teammates and your captain and all the rest, and your country and your tour, and you pile that all in. If you're doing it for yourself and you miss and you screw up, well, you just shrug and move on. But it's tough to move on from a Ryder Cup situation when it's all on your shoulders. So that was that was the crux of it. Coming off the 18th tee that particular week. Jack hollered at me. I waited for him to catch up, and he said, we walked together, and he's looking me in the eye. He said, "Tony, are you nervous?" I said, "Jack, I'm bloody petrified." And he said, "I just thought I'd ask, because if it's any consolation, I feel just the same way you do." And that's it. All your teammates are around the green, your captain. The result of that game is the result of the Ryder Cup. And it's not really where you want to be. You might think you do, but it's a bit nerve-wracking. And we've seen that circumstance happen numerous times, and the roller coaster of emotion that all the players go through that week, and the captains, and it's something else, is what it is.
Tony Jacklin is the guest here on the Stick and Hack Show. Tony, I'm going to name a few players for you. I want you to give us the rundown of each one of these players from the U.S. Ryder Cup teams from that era. So I'm going to name a name, and then you just give me your quick thoughts on them. And the first and foremost is Jack Nicklaus.
Well, the best. He's been a leader in our game for a long time now, and he's a sweetheart. And I think his, the basic golf and sportsmanship lies in his early amateur career. I was fortunate enough to meet his father back in the 60s, and Jack had a pretty prolific amateur career, and that's where he got the foundation for the great sport he's become and has remained.
What about Lee Trevino?
Trevino, Lee Buck, I mean, what a competitor. I mean, he kicked my butt on a couple of occasions, world match players, and, the Open 72 was a sort of game changer for me. Chipped in 5 times the last couple of rounds, and I was witness to it all. But what a competitor. And the other side of him is the motor mouth, I mean, he could never stop talking. I mean, I can't think about Lee Trevino without thinking about that mouth of his.
That sounds like a great guy to me, Mike. Right? That sounds like a guy that I could hang with.
Yeah.
Johnny Miller.
Johnny, great guy. Again, I was around quite a lot when he did, and I played with him during that wonderful year. I think he had 9 wins, 9 tours. I played with him at Augusta that year, I think it was. And every shot he hit, I've never seen golf like it. It never left the flag, and every putt he hit looked like it was going in. It was on a different. He was on a different level to everybody else. But,
we're talking about Ryder Cup teams from the U.S., and these are players from the 60s and 70s here. Here's another one for you, Tony. Ray Floyd.
Raymondo. Oh, what a competitor he was, too. I mean, he didn't manage to capture the Open Championship, but he won everything else. And he was an amazing competitor. He was out on the tour early when he was 19, and we were great pals back in the day. Don't see much of each other now, sadly, but what a competitor. Great, great competitor, Raymond, and as straight as a gun barrel.
And now the last one, and this is a name that it strikes fear in most people, Tom Wisecoff. Tom Wisecoff.
The big two.
I mean, what can you say?
Well, he just came through one of the biggest battle of his lifetime. He's just beaten cancer, and we've been in touch on the phone. Well, he came over here to Bradenton to see me about 2 or 3 years ago and told me, that he had the big C, the pancreatic, which is no joke. And he got the all clear a few months ago. But one of the great swings in golf, and we were very, very close, him and Bert Yancey and myself back in the 60s, all wanted to be as good as we could be. We played practice rounds together. We studied the swing of the game. And, of course, when I won the U.S. Open, he played it actually earlier that morning at Hazeltine. And there was a message on my locker when I got there, tempo. And that was the central theme for what we did. We worked on tempo. If you can maintain your tempo in the high pressure situations, then it's easy to say and hard to do. But what a swing!
I couldn't agree more, Tony. I couldn't agree more. It's impossible to do. My tempo is suspect in the most calm conditions.
That's being kind.
We're with Tony Jacklin here. Talking about those names. I mean, those are the who's who of that decade, but those are the who's who still in this decade and today. Everybody knows those names, and that's who you competed against for the Ryder Cup. Thinking about that and going back to those days, did you know the power you guys were going up against with the U.S. team back in those days, or were they just golfers to you?
No, we knew. I mean, I especially knew because, I spent 5 years on this tour. I got my card in 67 and played through 72. So I was very aware, and I was basically the only one from Britain doing that. A friend of mine, Peter Townsend, was over here, but he didn't get in that many events. So I was very aware it was a one-sided. In fact, it was Tom Wisecoff that, in 77, he was the only player I ever. He got picked for the team, and he was a no-show. He went shooting in Alaska instead, knowing that it was a foregone conclusion. It had become that one-sided. It really had, and that gesture of his of not turning up prompted Nicholas to write a letter to Lord Derby and suggest that Europe be involved to try and level the playing field a bit. And so that's how Europe, and I actually ultimately played my last Ryder Cup as a player in '79, which was the first European team.
Tony, what do you feel are the key differences between pro golfers from, say, the 60s through the 80s to those of like the last 20 years outside of equipment improvements? What do you think is the biggest difference?
Well, the game's changed. I mean, the ball is central to everything. I mean, back, all those players you mentioned, myself included, a 7-iron was 150 yards. You couldn't hit it any further with the Balata ball. It didn't matter. Nicklaus and Wisecoff were maybe a bit longer with the longer clubs, and they had the ability to get the elevation. But Ray Floyd and every one of us, a 7-iron was a 150-yard shot, an 8-iron was 140 yards, a 6-iron maybe 165, 170 max. And now you're getting these guys on that final hole at the PGA National hitting some sort of a mid-iron in to a hole I never was able to get up in 2 on. So it's become, actually, I don't want to sound like a sourpuss, and I'm not. And I wish everybody well, and I just wish I'd maybe born 50 years later. But they are hitting wedges and 9-irons into 12 or more greens in a round, and that to me is, it's just it's a putting, it's a smashing driver and a hot putter that wins tournaments today. I mean, when I won at Hazeltine, I was hitting 4-irons into par 4s, not just once, but multiple times in the round, and 2-irons on par 3s and par 5s I couldn't get up on in 2. So the game has just completely changed, and I have to say that I think the powers that be let it happen. I think it got away from them, and I'm not sure they're ever going to be able to do anything about it anymore. That's it's a different challenge altogether, and I don't think the game's better for it personally, and I'm obviously getting up there now.
That's all right, Tony. We appreciate your opinion. You talk about your arrival in the United States in the early days of your career and how you were treated with respect and not really looked at as a threat until you started to win. And then the mood kind of changed about you, and the players started looking at you differently than they had in the previous years when you came over here and played in the tour. Take us back there and what your thoughts are from that day when you came to the U.S. and started playing to when you started winning, and how the mood changed.
Well, not everybody, welcomed players from overseas with open arms. I mean, there was a lot of players in America at that time that were very insular. That they were no need to go anywhere but America, and they stayed in America and didn't sort of need to travel the world. I mean, the world was my university. I started traveling in 1963, and I played in Australia and Japan and the Far East multiple times. And so when I came to America, not everybody, and certainly the Nicklauses and the Palmers and the Trevinos and the Wisecoffs were fantastic. But there's others, and I don't need to name them, that were more mean-spirited, I never did meet anybody in my life yet that could help where they were born. And they didn't seem to react to that. It's like, son of a...
Right.
You know what? Why didn't he go back to where he came from or whatever? And they resented, and there wasn't a lot of them, but there were a handful. And when you got drawn with them, many a time I looked and I thought, oh God, maybe I should take a week off, and because they wouldn't talk to you. They would communicate through the scorekeeper. They resented your presence, and it was. They're all dead now, so it doesn't matter anymore.
That's the greatest answer ever. Tony, going back to those days and the stories and all the memories, what was it like for you when you're writing the book?
Well, when we did the book, and the reason we did the book, I was doing actually a few podcasts with guys, and Tony Jimenez, who I did the book with, he said, well, why don't we do a book? Now, I was diagnosed in 2014 with follicular lymphoma, which is not much fun, but it's not a death sentence either. And I've got to watch it and be careful. And by the time we started writing the book, I had some swelling in my ankles, and the doctors were concerned. And I was on a sort of 6-month chemo regime. And it was the start of lockdown as well because of COVID. And we were having groceries delivered to the door and that kind of thing. And I thought, well, doing a book sounds like a damn good idea. It keeps us occupied. And that was it, basically. I didn't have 6 months of chemo. I had 4. And by the time I had my 4th one, I got the all clear from the doctor. I was in remission. But we got the book done. And it wasn't all Ryder Cup. If you've stuck your head in it, you'll see there's lots of other stuff in there. It's like when a bunch of guys get together and start telling jokes. One reminds you of another, and then so these stories kept coming out thick and fast, and we got it all written down, and here we are. It turned out well, and Tony did a great job.
It's a great book. It's My Ryder Cup Journey. Tony Jacklin is the guest here on the Stick and Hack Show. Tony, there's a story in there that I think any golfer can relate to, and I laughed out loud when I read it. You had a real affinity for Ben Hogan, and you had an opportunity to play with him. And you'd asked him several times to play, and he kept giving you the shrug off and saying no. He finally agreed to play with you. And one of your buddies said, oh, you're going to go play golf with Ben Hogan. Can I play with you? And you said, no, we're full. And then you get up to the first tee and you see your buddy at the putting green, and there's only 3 of you. You had room, Tony. You said you're full. We've all been there. Don't worry, but it's with Ben Hogan. So what? No, this is my moment. I'm going to play with him. I found that fascinating in that we've all been there where some dope's asking to play with you, and you're like, now we're full. But this was very specific in that he was going to play with the great Ben Hogan and you said we're full, but you weren't, Tony. How do you feel about that this many years later?
Well, I checked with the big man first. It was actually at Tulsa, Oklahoma, at the PGA Championship in 1970, last major of the year. And Jackie Burke came up to me, and Jackie had been a friend for a while. He captained the American Ryder Cup team in '67, and we become good friends. And of course, they hosted the Open at Champions in '69, where Orville won. And anyway, he said, "Would you like to play with Hogan tomorrow?" And I said, "Hell yeah!" He was it as far as I was concerned. And I was on the putting green, ready to go the next morning, and Terry Dill from Texas came up to me, and he said, "Hey, Tony, you all have a game?" And I said, "Yeah, I do, Terry." He says, "Y'all have 4?" And I said, "Let me just check." And I go over to Hogan, and I said, "Ben, do we have 4?" He says, "Who's asking?" I said, "Terry Dill." He said, "We're set." And I had to go to Terry and say, "I'm sorry, we're set." And then we teed off, as you just said, as a threesome. And I felt like, yay big. I didn't feel very big at that point, and I felt a bit embarrassed. But 5 holes later, Hogan says, he came up to me before, and I said, who? He said, that Terry Dill. Oh, I said, yeah. Do you know what he said to me? No, I said, I'm like a stooge now. What did he say to you? He said, well, he came up and asked me how I prepared mentally for a major championship. And I said, oh, do you know what I told him? I said, no, what did you tell him? He said, I told him the first thing I do is make a point of never going up and talking to other players on the putting green. And, it was a sort of big put down, of course. And he laughed like hell. And but that's how he was. He didn't suffer that kind of those questions that are common sense. But he was what a day we had. And I'm telling you right now, I played with everybody. Played with Byron, although he was older. I played with Gene Saracen, although he was older. I played with Henry Cotton, and he was older, but nobody did it like Hogan. And, I think I put this in the book, but Nicklaus played 600 major championships. Gary Player played close to that, as did Arnold. Hogan played in 27, and he won 9. And, back before Arnold won the 2 majors, the 2 Opens in 61, 62, the majors weren't that major. Bobby Locke never played in a lot of US Opens, for example, nor did Peter Thompson. And certainly Hogan didn't even go back and defend his Open, nor did Snead back in 46 when he won. So the majors only came on stream actually it was Bob Drum, who was an Arnold Palmer disciple from Pittsburgh, who was a media man, who rallied all his media friends after Arnold did those 2 Opens. And of course, Jack won the US Open in 62. And they actually rewrote the record books, making the majors it. They were the be-all and end-all, became the be-all and end-all of everything. So there's a lot of stuff in there in the Ryder Cup Journey that people may find interesting, but I guarantee you can draw a line as to when Arnold did that, and Bob Drum rallied his troops, and they rewrote the way golf's looked at, and it's been fascinating, So Hogan, what a player! What a perfection! I mean, I can't put it. I never played with any. I mean, I played hundreds of rounds with Arnold and Jack and Gary, but nobody did it like Hogan, I can tell you that.
Tony Jacklin, the guest here on the Stick and Hack Show. Tony, you started golf very young. You got your first handicap at the age of 13, as well as you went to your first Ryder Cup as well with your dad. And you said at the time that cemented the fact that I wanted to play golf for the rest of my life. Do you really remember feeling that way at that time? Was it visceral?
Yeah. I mean, I'd never seen proper golf. I mean, my dad was a steel worker. We were members of a working men's club, and the lowest handicap was 7. And I'd whittled away at the game. I was self-taught, and by the time I was 13, I got to a 12 handicap. And when the Ryder Cup came to Lindrick, which was just about 60 miles away, Dad said, should we go? And I said, hell yeah, let's go. And the first swing I saw when I got through the gate was Dow Finsterwald. God love him. He's still knocking on. He's in Orlando, just up the road. And he was hitting a 5-iron out semi-rough. And I saw that beautiful tempo, rhythm. And then, of course, there were so many other players on that team. Tommy Bolt, who became a good friend later in life. Dick Mayer, a bunch of great Jackie Burke, who I mentioned already. And, it was the first time I saw world-class players. And we got back to Scunthorpe where I lived with enough time to get 9 holes in. I played the best 9 holes I've played in my life. I was totally inspired with what I saw. I mean, 13 is a very, very, it's that sort of starting to develop physically and get bigger. And so that, I was determined from that minute forward that golf was going to be my life. And it wasn't a waste of time. I didn't have much of an education. I left school at 15, but as I said earlier, aeroplanes and travel were my university. It was my opportunity to meet people, and I ended up playing with kings and princes and CEOs and presidents of corporations and countries. So, what a way to go.
What a way to go indeed. Tony Jacklin, the guest here on the Stick and Hack Show. Tony, can't thank you enough. Incredible stories. It's one of those we could talk to you for hours, as you know, and I'm sure that there isn't anything you want to do less than talk to us for hours. So we will come back in just a second here. We're going to play a game called In or Out with Tony Jacklin next on the Stick and Hack Show.
Need some gear to rep your favorite golf brand? Visit the Stick and Hack shop to explore our curated collection of exclusive merchandise. With a variety of styles of hats, shirts, and outerwear, we've got something for every golfer. Plus, shop our unique assortment of accessories, including putter covers, foam caddies, and more. Be sure to fill out our weekly cash grab survey to get a chance to win $25 to use at the shop. Visit the Stick and Hack shop today to get what you need to look your best on and off the course.
All right, back here, Mike, Stick and Hack Show. I'm Adam Grubb, and that's Mike Ryan, and we are with Tony Jacklin here on the show. It is time for for everyone's favorite time of the Stick and Hack Show, which is the game we play In or Out. So, Tony, we've got a threesome, much like you and Hogan and other. We've got a fourth that we can bring into this, okay? So it's Mike, you, and me. This isn't an invitation. You don't have to play golf with us. We'd love to come down to Bradenton and play if you want to, but it's not necessary. But in this fictitious round here, there's a fourth player that we can offer that spot to. So it's either in or out. And the category is, and I'm running out of it, Mike. I apologize ahead of time.
Yeah, you are.
The category here is famous Tonys. All right? Famous people named Tony. All right? Which is obviously your name. So here we go. In or out, we'll go with you first, and then we'll go to Mike, and then me. In or out of our fantasy foursome, Tony Hawk, the skateboarder.
Well,
he's not going to know any of these people. I guarantee it.
Skateboarding wasn't very popular in Scunthorpe back in the 50s.
Yeah, so he's out.
He's out.
He's out.
Yeah.
Mike?
He's way out for me.
Way out for me.
Yeah. I don't want to play golf with Tony.
Quarterback Tony Romo.
Oh, I've met Tony. Yeah, he's in. I liked his ribs too. But I met him in LA back in the early 70s.
I'm totally in Tony Romo.
Tony Bennett. Hold on a second. Tony Hawk is calling him right now.
Tony Bennett. Well, I mean, what a singer. What a voice. He's in. He's still knocking on, I see.
He is.
God love him. What a voice and what a career. Fantastic. Yeah, he's
in. Mike.
He's in for me. Yeah, absolutely. Tony Bennett is absolutely in.
I don't know how I can say out. I mean, the man's a national treasure, right? I mean, what kind of an ass would I be if I said out to Tony Bennett? All right, this is what you might not know this one. This is famous Tonys, in or out. Self-help guru Tony Robbins.
Oh yeah, I know Tony Robbins. Very positive individual, and
yeah, but too much.
I've not met him, but I admire his work, and definitely he's in.
I know what Adam's answer is going to be here.
What are you even doing?
Go ahead, I'm going to say in.
Yeah, shocking. I'm going to say out. I'm going to say out only because I don't need the positivity in my ear while I'm shanking one out of bounds. I don't want him telling me, hey, it's okay, pal. You need to visualize your result. You know what, Tony? Why don't you sit over there, pal, and leave me alone? NASCAR driver Tony Stewart, in or out? I'm
not aware of, I see enough NASCAR fans on the road around here where I'm going for groceries. I leave it at that. I'm not.
Yeah, he's out.
A big fan.
He's out.
He's out.
No, he's not. It's okay, Tony. You can say in or out. He's out. That's fine.
Yeah.
Mike's going to go out because he's never disagreed with a guest in the history of the show. Mike, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm out on Tony Stewart. But whatever.
I'm out on Tony Stewart as well. He has an anger problem.
Yeah.
All right. Here's a fun one. Who's the boss? And from the show Taxi, Tony Danza.
Yeah, he's a popular actor. Well, certainly when he was younger.
In the 80s.
I'm not sure about his golf. He's out.
Yeah, he's out. That was
Yeah, Tony Danza's out.
Out for me as well. Who's the boss? Pass. Tony Orlando. In or out? Famous Tonys here with Tony Jacklin. Tony Orlando.
Yeah, no, he's the yellow ribbon and all that. Yeah, he's out. He's not a bloody golfer.
He's not a bloody golfer. Mike?
He's out.
He's out. Tony Orlando.
He's totally out.
Tony Blair.
No, thank you. Give me a break. I endured him.
Yes.
I endured him for 5 bloody years in the UK. What a nightmare. He came on the scene like a messiah, and he left with his tail between his legs. Oh.
I knew that.
So
he's out for me. I mean, yeah, duh.
All right, he's out.
You kidding me?
I'll put him out myself.
Tony Blair's out. All right. Sportscaster and host of Pardon the Interruption on ESPN, Tony Kornheiser.
No,
sports writer for the Washington Post.
I couldn't even pronounce the name. He's out.
Yeah, he's out. He's out.
Yeah, I'm out on Kornheiser.
I'm in on Kornheiser, 100%. Nah. I love Tony Kornheiser. I don't think I would that would be one of the greatest days, except for playing golf with Mr. Jacklin. The second greatest day would be playing golf with Tony Kornheiser. I think he's fantastic. And you know what? Shame on you, Mike. He is a sports writing legend.
Wilbon all day.
Well, that's a classic Mike Ryan pivot. That way you're not making everybody mad. You know what? Forget it. All right, last one. In or out, famous Tonys with Tony Jacklin, St. Louis Cardinal manager and all-around tough guy, Tony La Russa.
No, that rings no bells. Out. Sorry.
Yeah, it shouldn't. Out. He's a Cardinal. Who cares?
Yeah.
He's not the Cubs. He's out. Right, Mike?
Yeah, that's exactly right. He's out. He's a former Cardinal.
Yeah. All right.
So he's
there
out.
You go, everybody. That's the in or out. Probably. We didn't actually get a full answer on Tony Blair, but again, I believe he said out. There he is, Tony Jacklin, the guest here on the Stick and Hack Show. Tony, my thanks to you. Go get the book, My Ryder Cup Journey. If you don't have it, pick it up where you get your books or Amazon or wherever the hell you get books nowadays. Tony, a storied career and an absolute honor, sir, to have you on the program. We appreciate it. Great hearing the stories, and congratulations on your success, obviously, and continued health to you, sir. Thanks. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Adam. Take care, Mike.
Thank you so much.
All right, everybody.
And peace out, guys.
Okay, we're done. This has been the Stick and Hack Show. Go to stickandhack.com to become a free member of the world's greatest golf club without the course.